What's going on, awesome people? Welcome to another episode of Countdown to Freedom in Iran. My name is Iman Hushman, and as always, it is a pleasure to be hosting this program with all of you all. I say episode 20, and I'm like, damn, on one hand, it's like a milestone of sorts, it's 20 episodes. On another hand, this is supposed to be Countdown to Freedom in Iran, so ideally, we wouldn't want to have that many episodes because that means that there's still not freedom in Iran. So it's a bittersweet situation, ladies and gentlemen, to have all these episodes. However, we are grateful for all of you that continue to watch, support, share, and provide feedback and do whatever it takes to continue keeping the flame of this revolution alive and keeping the conversation alive. So wherever you're joining from, ladies and gentlemen, we're extremely grateful on behalf of all the producers of Countdown. I see a Mehsa Dia from Pakistan. I love the fact that we have individuals from different countries. Really appreciate you. And wherever you're joining from, feel free to drop a line of where it is that you're from. I know that we see Mehran Khanum from the beautiful city of Montreal. And there's some familiar faces as always. But ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a special episode. Not just because we have episode number 20, but also because we have a special guest tonight. We have Emily Schrader, who, if you really have been following the revolution, then you've seen her viral videos. She's been an incredible voice for Iranians. She's a writer and lecturer on Israel, democracy, and human rights, a journalist and host for Ynet News, Israel's largest news website. So I'm really looking forward to all of us really getting to know Emily a little bit better, and frankly, thanking her for everything she's been doing to be the voice of our people. So I'm hoping that you're looking forward to getting to know Emily a little bit better. And also, we have our amazing journalist and producer of Countdown, Paris Mansouri, who's going to be starting off the program in just a couple of minutes. And then we're going to have Mona Haghighi, who's going to be our Uniter's update correspondent, if you may. And then we have Dr. Shiva Jahani, who's going to be giving us our mindful moment. So it's going to be a great program, like I said. And I do want to take a moment and give a shout out to the free Toomaj Salehi hashtag. At the Unite and Conquer family, we put out a couple teasers. We're putting out a brand new music video, lip syncing essentially the song Soorakh Moosh. So here in South Florida, we put together the best video that we could to continue to be the voice of Toomaj Salehi. And so please continue to use the hashtag free Toomaj Salehi, and whatever you can to keep that freedom fighter's voice alive. As you will hear very shortly from Paris, we have a lot of people that are sitting in the worst conditions in Evin prison. Some have been executed. So the reality, the fact is that we need to continue to have these conversations, and we need to continue doing whatever we can on our end outside of our homeland to speak up against the atrocities. So let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. There's some good news also we're going to be sharing, and we'll wait till the segment with Mona Jun. Just a lot of exciting things happening as we continue to unite the community, bringing us together through food, through music, through culture, whatever it takes to bring us together, so then we can go ahead and amplify the voices of our people and make much more of a impact. So let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's please help me welcome producer to Countdown, Paris Mansouri from Canada, our neighbors up north. Hello, Paris.
Hello. Hello.
I like your tell. How are you? Is that what it's called?
It is called a tell. It is called a tell. Okay, before we start, I need to do because I'm usually super close. How is my distance
fine,
to
but
the camera?
Something happens with our audio. I don't know if it's the Canadian border that gives us a 2 second. I'm not blaming Canada. It could be US, but there's some kind of delay. So if there is, we do apologize. If we get more sponsors, we'll upgrade to a higher production quality podcast. So if anybody has complaints, feel free to become a sponsor.
Please. And we need hair and makeup because my hair has been doing a thing. We keep overlapping, so hair.
I need
makeup,
hair on my
audio
face because there's nothing worse than Iman without a beard. I'm telling you. as my girlfriend can attest.
Well, listen, it's fine either way. We're grateful that you're here and for all that you do and for everyone joining in week after week. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm literally the bearer of bad news every week. I honestly try to find uplifting stories, but
I know.
this is not that week, Iman.
But you know what? Somebody needs to give us the real news. So here we are on day 241, and the execution sprees, they continue in Iran. So let's just get right into the shitty news of what we have to deal with. Pardon the French.
And it's nothing but that, unfortunately. So again, triggering to anybody who finds it difficult to hear about death and executions. There's a lot of that in this newscast, unfortunately. So on Monday, the Islamic regime hanged 5 more people. We've been averaging about 10 people a week since January. It is absolute craziness. And surprisingly, there are, you know, Amnesty International is somehow finally piping in, saying there's a lot of executions happening. Meanwhile, these 10 that or the amounts that we mentioned are the amounts that are known to the public. We know that the Islamic regime does a lot behind the scenes and threatens families as well, so they don't come forward. So it's terrifying to think what the real numbers are. From looking to the side, that's where my notes are. So the 5 people the Islamic regime executed on Monday were related to armed drug smuggling in the south of the country. That's what the judiciary says. And CBS News is also reporting that 2 additional people were executed on Monday. I haven't, and again, I try to corroborate the news as much as possible, but you know, this one begs mentioning. These executions, these 2 individuals were convicted of desecrating the Quran and insulting the Prophet Muhammad, and that's why they were hanged this past Monday. The founder of the Oslo-based non-governmental organization Iran Human Rights Watch, his name is Mahmoud Amiri Moghadam. He said the month of May alone, at least 59 people have been executed in Iran. We're not even, well, we're halfway through the month now. 59 people. And the number total for the year so far is 223.
What about details on other death sentences?
So there were crowds. If you've been following our newscasts and also the stories, there are 3 individuals who are at imminent threat of execution. There were crowds that gathered outside Dast Gid prison in Esfehan on Sunday night, and again tonight. They're there right now. They're obviously dispersed by tear gas, and basically they're protesting at the risk of their own life, trying to save these 3 individuals, the men who've been accused of killing a Basiji. Now, apparently they were televised, shown that they confessed and that they corroborated each other's presence at this so-called death or at the so-called killing. Now, there are different organizations, a group providing legal service to individuals who are in jail, who say that the confessions appear to be fake and forced, and that they were obviously obtained during forced confessions and duress and torture and the rest of the things that we know happen to individuals who are arrested by the Islamic regime. All 3 are reportedly still alive. So, say their names to save their lives, as we've been trying to do with so many detainees. Their names are Majid Kazemi, Saeed Yagoubi, and Saleh Mir Hashemi. So if we could, I'll mention them again at the end of this segment so we can use their hashtag. But we're far away, and there was a really sad image. It was Samira Mohieddin, her Twitter account. She posted a picture of a message that came out of Dastgir prison saying, "Please don't let them kill us." So again, trying to make it through one of our segments without crying, but it's a really terrifying situation.
I actually saw, I shared that in my story. The mother of Saeed Yagoubi actually had a video basically asking for everyone to share and how they were given their last meeting with their loved one. It's unreal. It's almost like it's the worst movie you've ever seen, Senior officials got a briefing on Tuesday. It was done in secret and it was about Iran. What do we know about that?
Yes. So it happened in the US. According to Politico.com, it was the Biden administration's first Iran-focused classified session for all senators. We have no clue what was discussed. We don't know what the agenda was. All that we know is that the relations with Tehran are at an all-time low. Nuclear talks are not going well, which we know the Biden administration is very sad about, because we know they want to make a deal with the Islamic regime. One person who is not going to be there is Robert Malley, or who wasn't there because it happened yesterday. It was on Tuesday. Rob Malley did not make it to the meeting, but his stand-in guy, his deputy, his name is Abraham Pali, was there instead. And we know that Rob Malley has been pushing for a nuclear deal. For those who are not familiar with the nuclear deal in Iran, it basically enters into agreement. The United States and the Islamic regime, basically they're going to agree on a price of oil, and the regime gets to keep making nuclear weapons and do what they want, but at a limit. So they're saying that they're going to curb the creation of nuclear weapons. We know all that's going to happen is that they're going to release a bunch of funds that is going to feed the Islamic regime and basically guarantee their existence for many, many more years. There's no word yet on how the meeting went. Politico.com reported on basically the meeting based on confidential and off-the-record information. So we don't know what happened. All we know is that it did happen. But for those who are wondering, like, why does it matter? We don't know what was on the agenda. We don't know what they discussed. But in the coming weeks, depending on their positioning, depending on who speaks up, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, and the agenda that they start moving forward, then we'll know that it was, basically it was born out of whatever happened yesterday.
Changing topics a little bit, the regime has seized another oil tanker, and it looks like the U.S. is going to boost its military presence in the Persian Gulf. What is the story, and what does that mean?
Yes, and before we move forward, we have Real Sophie's World, who's talking about shame on the Biden administration. More than just shame, we totally agree. I'm going through some of our comments here. Kathy Rahkar says forced confession 100%. Hi Shahla Jun, so many people joining us. Thank you so much for being here week after week. So yeah, the Islamic regime is definitely busy. We're talking about protests and executions, getting the IRGC listed as a terrorist organization. We are, trying to figure out how the Biden administration is going to, figure things out for themselves. And meanwhile, the Islamic regime is seizing oil tankers in the Persian Gulf. Now, people are like, why should we care? Why does it even matter? Like, who cares what's happening in the Persian Gulf right now? We've got bigger fishes to fry. But here's why it matters. For those who aren't aware, the Strait of Hormuz, which is the entrance to the Persian Gulf, is controlled by Iran. So Iran has been on a whim deciding to seize tankers who decide to enter. Now, the Persian Gulf belongs to Iran, but portions of it belong to other countries. It's called nautical borders, and other tankers are allowed to come in and allowed to grab the oil or gas or whatever they're drilling for in whatever area that they're going in. So Iran controls it, but there's different countries who have rights to the waterways as well. So what Iran is doing, in the past 19 days, it has seized 3 tankers. So it is upsetting a lot of other countries. So again, you're wondering, like, why does it matter? It's because more countries are involved. So we keep hearing about the EU, we keep hearing about, European countries, America, Canada, but we're not hearing, like, the seized tankers. One of them, we don't know where it's from. Iran is actually saying it's one of their old tankers that was seized, so now they seized it back. And the other 2 tankers belong to Panama and the Marshall Islands. Now, it matters because, like, Iran and Panama, like, when do we hear we have issues with Panama? If you ever hear that Panama's upset with us, this is why. If you ever hear Marshall Islands are upset with us, this is why. So the regime is saying that the Panamanian tanker was seized on judicial order following a complaint by a plaintiff. But they're not saying who the plaintiff is. We have no idea why this tanker was seized. So you can imagine that Panama's quite upset that their oil tanker has been seized and they haven't been given a reason. Now, the Marshall Islands has responded, and they're saying, and I'm quoting, heightened military activity and geopolitical tensions in these regions continue to pose serious threats to these commercial vessels. Associated with these threats is the potential of miscalculation or misidentification, which could lead to aggressive actions. So if you're wondering why things are happening, and probably some people like, what is even the Marshall Islands and where are they? This is why they would have beef with the Islamic regime.
Thank you so much.
the more you know.
Moving on, so we stay on track. A couple of quick notes about Russia and the Islamic regime. Russia's out of attack drones and looking to get more of where they came from, straight from the Islamic regime. What other support are they getting from their best buddies?
Yeah, so ABC News says the White House says that Russia has depleted its stockpile and that it's looking to buy additional advanced attack drones from Iran in its war against Ukraine. So they have apparently used up more than 400 drones that they've obtained so far, and they want more. And again, this goes back to that, secret talk that the Biden administration is having with the senators. As we know, the Biden administration and the United States supports Ukraine in this war. And so now they are trying to make a deal with Iran and, have all sorts of appeasements, but Iran is supporting Russia. So this is where the triangle comes in. And I understand these are not the politics or like the news maybe everybody wants to know, but in case you're wondering why decisions are made and certain things happen certain ways, hopefully this type of insight provides you with some understanding of what's happening behind the scenes and what's causing some of these decisions.
Well, we've heard about this regime helping Russia in this war against Ukraine, but now we're finding out one of the ways they return a favor.
Yes, so there are, according to Forbes, there's unconfirmed reports that Iran's press has suggested that Iran and the Islamic regime is going to be getting its first batch of it's called Su-35s. They're super flankers. And the Islamic regime's news agency, which is IRNA, they first reported that the jets are about to arrive in May, and then all of a sudden the article disappeared. Now, these are fighter jets. Like, acquiring fighter jets is a big deal, especially as we know they've been escalating tensions with Israel. They've been escalating tensions in the Middle East, and it's a big deal because it's a milestone. The Islamic regime has not imported anything of the kind in 33 years. And according to the Forbes article, the last time Iran got something similar was 47 years ago. So when you know that you're not making friends in the region, and on top of that, you're beefing up your army, it's going to be disconcerting to a lot of people.
Okay, in the last few minutes, updates about protesters and detainees.
We've been speaking about, and I definitely wanted to mention it at the top of this segment. Our loved ones, our Uniter's, our thoughts and our prayers and our loves are with Shahrajun and Sam, who are in situations that require prayers and positive energy for their loved ones and their family, and we're thinking of them. And as well as Shiva Saber, relative of hers, has unfortunately been detained unjustly, unlawfully by the Islamic regime. We've been mentioning his story for a few weeks. His name is Hushidar Zari. He was, if this is the first time you're hearing about him, he is a super high-level judo coach. He was going to be an Olympian until the Islamic regime stopped him from getting onto a plane that was going to bring him to the Olympics in Australia, simply because he's Baha'i. He is a businessman. He is a family man. He has a wife and daughter, and he was unlawfully detained. He was just one day complete on his way to work. He was arrested, taken out of his car, taken to jail. We have absolutely no idea why he was arrested. What we do know is that he is Baha'i, and we do know that they are unjustly targeted at any moment in time simply just for existing. They had no news about him for many weeks, in the entire duration of his arrest. And awful news has come. He has been transferred to a notorious prison in Shiraz. It's called Adel Abad. If anyone's familiar, they know how brutal this prison is. His family did get a chance to see him before he left for that prison, but still no news on why he's been detained. We're using the hashtag #FreeHushidar to help spread his story.
What about the action item this week? What are the hashtags we're following?
Absolutely. Majid Kazemi, Saeed Yaqubi, Salim Mir Hashemi. If you just joined the newscast, these are individuals who are at imminent threat of being executed. Forever, we're going to be talking about IRGC being terrorists. So that hashtag, we speak about Toomaj Salehi every single week on this broadcast. Our hashtags Toomaj Salehi. And of course, the mainstays are hashtag Mahsa Amini and hashtag Iran Revolution. Please, guys, I know it's been a long time, but it's going to keep being a long time. And we're going to keep going as long as we need to, but please don't let these stories die out. We are among the few who are keeping these stories alive. So please, let's keep using these hashtags.
On a funny, positive note, your final message to our listeners?
our language is called Persian and English, and I feel like I keep needing to repeat it because every week I keep hearing people say the word Farsi when they're speaking in English. Farsi is not an English word. The way to say Farsi in English is Persian. That's how we say it. It's not like the word kebab. It's not like the word tadig that it stays. And we even can say kebab or tadig, but the word Persian is the name for our language in English. Let's please use it. And by the way, really quick, something that was extremely upsetting and that everybody should know about, when I was talking about the vessels and the oil tankers, it was a Reuters news article. And if you go Google Iran oil tankers and Reuters, you're going to see never once do they say Persian Gulf. The Reuters article mentions it as the Gulf, and the image they have, which is a screenshot of the US Navy, it calls it the Arabian Gulf. So if you guys care at all, I know these seem like really trivial. They're not. Let's use our names. Let's use the words correctly.
And listen, for 40, God knows how many years, we've all, present company included, have been incorrect about it. So you're going to have to give us more than just 20 weeks to fix 40 plus years of screwing it up, okay? But we're trying our best. At least you help us catch ourselves thanks to these last minute segments.
I still catch myself. It's all good. It's a lifetime. Real Sophie, you're going to trust me. I remember you every day. When a family member says Farsi, I think of myself too. I still make it.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful
guys.
evening. We appreciate you doing all the help that you do and also being a producer of Countdown. Ciao. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just so that we can continue staying on track, we have Dr. Shiva Jahani is going to be joining us, and we have Mona Haghighi. And I do need more Shiva Jan to request to join. If not, Mona Jan, you have 1 minute to request to join. Hold on, there we go. All right, here we go. We have Shiva Jan. She's a professor in the College of Community Innovation and Education at the University of Central Florida, and she's going to be talking about a very cool balancing breathing technique. Hi, Shiva Jan, how are you?
What's up?
Great to see you.
Great to see you too.
Thank you for making time this evening for Countdown. Just so that we stay on track, we're going to be talking about something that I can't even spell properly, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Is it Ujjayi?
Yes, Ujjayi breath.
Ujjayi. Bad joke.
You can say Ujjayi or Ujjayi.
Bad
so
joke.
that's
Okay. Ujjayi, it's a balancing breathing technique. So what is Ujjayi?
Ujjayi means like victorious breath. So it's very most common breathing techniques. And if you go to any yoga places, you will hear Ujjayi breath. So because before meditation we are using this breath. During yoga, with any pose, we just tell people just keep breathing Ujjayi, and I will explain how it works and why it's important, because it's energizing our body and also soothing our nervous system, and also so important for balancing our mind and body and our spirit. So this is the technique we just always recommend people in yoga class and during meditation, just keep breathing and just do Ujjayi breath, because it's like an ocean sound. And I don't know if you have been doing when you are really sad or just irritated or upset, if we do like just kind of like a release. This is Ujjayi breath, like a sound of ocean or so. This is
so I basically Ujjayi like every day, 10 times a day, basically. Okay, I wake up Ujjayi. I go to sleep Ujjayi. After lunch, I Ujjayi. Yes, I know exactly.
Now
so what does it entail besides ocean sounds?
So so the way we are, let me explain how it works, because it's like a pause, and we do like the muscles in back of our throat constructed. Then when we just do this practice, that also unblock the throat chakra, and we just energizing our body. So that's really important to know how to do it. So if you want to practice, I guide you. It's just easy. It's just we are practicing together. So it just, we are wherever you are. You're starting with just like sit comfortably. Stretching your shoulders and relax them, and then your spine is upright. And so we're starting with just take a deep inhalation and exhalation. Start with deep inhalation and exhalation. Very deep and long and nice. And let it go. Okay, so now for practicing Ujjayi breath, you take an inhale, and as you take an inhale, slightly constrict the muscles in back of your throat and create the sound like a whispering. And exhale through nose with the same way of creating whispering here. So another way of doing that is with the mouth open, and your people just cannot do through nose. We just we create a sound like and open mouth. So that's the way we just, practicing Ujjayi breath and unblocking the heart chakra. And the most important thing that everybody should remember about that is all pranayama, breathing techniques should not be rushed or hurried. Should be just take our time and always do it in the same rate. So keep the flow very smooth and also even. And when you feel tired and things, just always keep doing Ujjayi breath and keep in the same rate, and also very smooth till you just feel really good. Because when the most important benefits of this technique is you are feeling like a different person, because you feel so much joy in your body, and just immediately you feel the energies flow on your body. Because of, you're focusing on your breath, you're constructed into the muscle in the back, and just, balancing your mind, body, and also affecting your nervous system and soothing the nervous system.
And how long do these sessions usually last?
As I said, you can just do it. This breath can go with all your poses, like yoga poses. You always can do with every pose, the Ujjayi breath. Before meditation, you can start for soothing and calming your nervous system. You just practice this, technique. And every time, in the morning time, as you say, just Ujjayi. So every morning time, you just do it for, as you just listen to your body and say, okay, I need that, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and do it. But after that, you always remember you should do normal breathing, Before and after, you just, bring your attention to your breath. The first start with take deep breath, and then Ujjayi, and just normal breathing, and watch and self-reflect. So that's so important for any kind of breathing and pranayama techniques. You do self-reflection.
And why would you say it's so important to add these different types of breathing techniques to our lives?
Why is important? Because I think for centuries, yogic found out that the breath is so important for just shifting state of mind. Because when we are focusing on our breath, we are just, the quality of our breath is quality of life. So it's so important to just keep the rate of our breath, it's like 6 to 4, or 5 to 5, and always deep and nice and smooth and long. So that's help us to have a long life and very joyful life. That's what's this important, to just have observe our breath and continue with different types of breathing technique to stay calm and happy.
I guess breathing is pretty essential to life, so I can see why this is important. All right. Shiva, thank you so much for sharing more about Ujjayi. Now, every time that I kind of complain with my size, I can think of Ujjayi. And I'll know that it's actually not all that bad that I'm complaining, that there's breathing techniques that are actually beneficial to life. So I love it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate your time as always. For more information on how to live a joyful life and a peaceful life and a balanced life, follow Shiva Jahani.life. And she's an incredible meditator and knows everything about breathing techniques. So appreciate you always making time for Countdown. Shaposh.
Having me. I appreciate that. Take care.
Have a good night. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go right into Mona Haghighi, because we want to make sure we're on time for Emily Schrader, who's going to be joining us shortly at 8:40 Eastern Time. But now it's time for Uniter's update, courtesy of the one and only Mona Haghighi. How are you, Mona Jo?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Always a pleasure pleasure to see you.
Likewise. I try to.
You try to do what?
I get very excited to be on every week, but it's just been so sad. Paris news just got me right now. I got emotional. So
I understand. Well, what all of you do is not easy, but I appreciate you guys continuing to do this fighting.
Likewise. Love you guys.
So, Monajan, what are some of the things that we're doing that is at least helping with this movement instead of twiddling our thumbs and not doing anything? What would you like to talk about first?
First, always Toomaj. That's what I want to talk about. So he's now been in solitary confinement over 200 days, which is ridiculous and incredible. And still, he's so strong. He's been tortured, and he's still being very strong. And we just need to do everything we can to get him out of there. The Uniter's have created or recreated his music video Soorakh Moosh, which I'm so excited about, and we're currently editing it, and it's gonna come out soon, right?
Yeah, hopefully by. I don't want to say this weekend. I'm going to say next week to play it safe, but it should be in the next coming days for sure.
I'm very excited.
But if people haven't watched, they can go see the teaser. The teaser is a great teaser, so it can get you already. You can have at least one popcorn, and then by next week you can have the full bag of popcorn and enjoy the whole music video created by the United.
Yes, we've all shared the teasers. The teasers look amazing, so I can't even imagine how the video is gonna look. So what we're doing with that is basically spreading his word with his own words, you know, just giving him the attention that he deserves. Anything that we can do. I mean, we can't do much, and whatever we can do, we're going to do, no matter what. We haven't stopped since day one, and we're going to keep doing it until we have a free Iran. And all of the political prisoners are out. Not just Toomaj, all of them. There's so many, and like Paris said, they're being executed as we speak, and it's just horrible. So Toomaj, free Toomaj, hashtag free Toomaj, hashtag free Toomaj Saleh. Please spread the word, and please watch the video, share it once it comes out. You'll love it.
Yeah, and before we go to the next segment that Mona's going to talk about, for those of you who watch Countdown every week, you can definitely tell that Mona is visibly emotional. So why don't you show her some love and show some love to so many amazing people that help make this countdown possible. You know, it's all a collective effort right here, and I'm so grateful for everybody that supports it in any shape or form, either preparing, being a contributor, or watching, or sharing. So it's a true family affair here at Unite and Conquer in trying to do this countdown. So thank you so much, Monajun, for bringing so much emotion and love. It's hard for all of us. So thank you so much.
No, of course. And thank you for all the comments. Shadi June, my cousin, my beautiful cousin in Canada, I love you. So let's move on. Let's talk about the good stuff that we're doing. This just adds fuel to my fire, and I want to just keep doing more things. So May 26th, last Friday of the month, we're gonna join an organized bicycle ride, which is called Critical Mass in Miami. It starts in downtown Miami and ends in downtown Miami. It's about 14 to 18 miles. It's not that long, it's just anyone can come. You don't have to sign up or anything. But what we're going to do is some of the Uniters have decided we're just going to join the bicycle group, and we're going to bring shirts and flags and whatever that we can safely bring and ride with our bicycles as a group and bring attention to Iran and the revolution, which is going to be fun.
Yeah, of course.
So anyone that wants to come, anyone that's in South Florida, please join us. You're more than welcome to. We'll be happy to see the more the merrier.
The flyer is on Monajun's Instagram. It's on the Let's Unite and Conquer Instagram. It's on my Instagram. So all the information of the who, what, where, when is there. If you're in South Florida, it's a great opportunity to get a little bit of exercise in while also making some noise for our people.
Yeah.
Speaking of making some noise.
Yes, we're definitely going to make some noise.
Shall we talk about July 3rd?
Yes, let's talk about it. So I'm very excited. We're going to have an Azadi Festival on July 3rd in Ship Garden in Tysons, Virginia. It's going to be from 1:11 p.m. to 1:11 a.m. It's a 24-hour or
12-hour.
12-hour festival. During the day, it's going to be for families and kids. Kids are, it's free for kids. There's going to be a dog park, games, bounce house, anything you can imagine. There's going to be a bunch of different foods, drinks, hookah, freedom-loving activists are going to be there. There's going to be artists. Am I missing something right now?
I think what was that?
Iranian Bazaar.
Iranian Bazaar, yeah. We're going to have at least 20, 30 vendors that are Iranian and that are creating or selling or producing something that is Iranian, you know. And so it's really the ultimate Persian Coachella and Bazaar. And obviously there's going to be an opportunity for the most vocal of Iranian activists to get on stage, and we get to thank them for everything they've been doing. They get to share the things that they've been doing lately to be the voice of our people. Really, you know, the whole idea behind us doing this at Unite and Conquer was, you know, Iranians, you know, to get them together, you need the food, the music, the drinks. We love to celebrate our culture. So it just seemed like the right time, especially on 4th of July weekend, being Independence Day in the United States, and how we are fighting for independence and freedom in our country. It just seemed like a great day to get the people, and not just the DC area, but really Iranians who want to be somewhere where thousands of people are going to be gathering to celebrate our rich culture, our rich history, and also to be inspired to be more involved in what's happening with Iran. Because I think anybody that has been fighting for the last 8 months has noticed a little bit of a drop-off. And so if you agree that there's been a drop-off on July 3rd, this is your opportunity to pour some fuel of patriotism and homeland and love and motherland and unity and community all into this fire pit at Ship Garden, so that it galvanizes not just a DC community, but because it's going to be live streamed globally, you get some people from around the world to watch and be inspired and entertained, and just meet some really awesome freedom fighters. So basically got to be there July 3rd, nowhere else. Mona.
Have fun with your family and also be able to brainstorm what else we can do, you know? Yeah. What a better way to get together, all of us, and brainstorm of what we can do together as a bigger group and not just a smaller groups in different parts of the country.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I'm actually very excited to share with our viewers here tonight, for the very first time. If you click the link in the bio, Azadi Festival is official. You can go and purchase tickets as of just a few minutes ago. The event is live, and you know, we've made it as affordable as you could possibly make it. It's $10 per person, with children being free, you know. And so the goal is to just get as many people over there. We don't want to have price be an objection. We just want people that love our people, love our country, love our community to come together. And I hope that on July 3rd, we have the pleasure of hosting thousands of fellow Iranians to enjoy 12 hours, or at least a few hours. Obviously, we're not expecting everyone to stay for 12 hours, although you should if you would like to. But the idea is that there's different demographics of people that would want to come at different times. If you want to come with your family, you come earlier in the day. If you want to come and enjoy the nightcap, then you come later at night. But there's plenty to do for all ages, and I just love family affair events. And what better family affair than to bring awareness of what's happening in Iran and to celebrate all the great things that our country, our nationality has to offer, from food to music to arts and craft to what else, everything else we got going on that day. So it's a lot.
I mean, I'm a little biased, but we do have the best country, the best people, the best food, right? I mean,
yes, for sure. We have to say it. That's right. Well, Monojun, I appreciate you taking the time to give us all these Uniter's updates. If you're in South Florida, May 26th, mark the calendar. If you're in a DC area, or if you want to travel 4th of July weekend, see you July 3rd. We're going to be talking about the Azadi Festival every single day until we have thousands of people together in the nation's capital. Mona Jo, Shab Bekhair. It's time to welcome our special guest.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've been patient enough. Thank you so much for being a part of this program so far. Our special guest this week is Emily Schrader. She has a master's degree in political communications and over 10 years experience in digital marketing and politics. She's a writer and lecturer on Israel, democracy, and human rights. She's advised government officials at the highest levels in Israel, from parliamentarians to the Ministry of Strategic Affairs. She's a co-founder and CEO of Social Life Creative, social media management, digital marketing, and strategic consulting. She's a journalist and host of Ynet News, Israel's largest news website. And over the course of this revolution, as I'm sure you've all noticed, she's been a staunch advocate of the Iranian people. I'm looking forward to getting to know Emily a little better. If you are as well, as I'm bringing her on, please show her some love. She's deserving of it because there aren't that many people that are non-Iranian that have done as much as this lovely lady, Emily Schrader, has done. So please give her a nice virtual welcome to Countdown. Good evening,
Hi.
Emily.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
Why am I not
Can you hear me all
surprised you're
right?
Why am I not surprised you're in a car? You're one of the busiest bees that I've met. Thank you so much for making time.
Of course. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here.
I know you've been traveling from Israel to Cali now, so you know, it's just a great pleasure and honor to virtually meet you here. And I'm just right off the bat, on behalf of millions of Iranians, our sincere gratitude for everything you've been doing for the last 8 months to be the voice of our people. So much love to that. But let's get right into it. We can tell from your content, obviously, that you're a subject matter expert when it comes to the Middle East. Is this what you had always envisioned for your career? Like, how did you end up doing what you do?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I actually got, obviously you can tell because I have degrees in politics that I was interested in politics most of my life. But I was more interested in domestic politics when I first went to university. And what really sort of changed my perspective on that was actually the hostility towards Israel on some of the campuses that I experienced and that I witnessed. And when I saw this sort of weird obsession, and by the way, it's the same obsession that you see today from the Islamic Republic, the almost like irrational, everything is somehow the Jews/Israel's fault. So this whole line of thinking, that's sort of what pushed me to be more interested in studying academically and in any way that I can what's happening in the Middle East, why it's happening, what the different events are, who the different players are, and understanding at a deeper level what's going on. Now, when it comes to Iran, I had a little bit of knowledge from my personal life as well. I am not Persian in any capacity. I know that's hard to believe with how, you know, tan I am and my blonde hair. But I actually, because I'm originally from Los Angeles, I grew up with a lot of the Persian community. I was very familiar with it, both Jewish and non-Jewish. So I was no stranger to, you know, the story of what happened from the Islamic Revolution onwards, because we have a huge population of Iranians who came to Los Angeles after the revolution from a number of different communities. So I knew a little bit more about what the situation was with Iran, and I didn't really put two and two together when it comes to the Israel issue until significantly later, when the regime really became more physically, I guess, aggressive towards Israel. And also after I moved to Israel permanently, that was when I started to understand that there's a bigger issue here. Now, in terms of my professional career, I cover a lot of different authoritarian regimes and human rights violations. So Iran has been on my radar for quite some time. And I also, one of my other areas of interest/expertise is women's issues. And unfortunately, as we all know, that is one of the biggest issues in the world when it comes to women's issues is, you know, the Islamic Republic. So that's how I got involved.
So I guess the reason why you care about Iran is primarily because they've been one of the main aggressors. Is there anything else that kind of stood out about Iran where in the last 8 months you were like, wait a second, I need to talk more about all the injustice that's happening? So where this caring about talking about so much about Iran really come about?
Well, I think that, I was also very vocal about Russia as well, and, in support of Ukraine. But I think that there is a bit of a bias when it comes to the Western perspective. And a lot of people are talking about Ukraine, and they should. They really should. It's an important issue. But it's kind of like the issue with Iran. Everybody was like, oh, yeah, this is a big problem. And then when it became inconvenient for the Western world, in particular the EU, to actually enforce or implement stricter sanctions or to take serious action against the Islamic Republic, whether it be labeling the IRGC as a terrorist organization or other actions that they could have taken, they balked at that. They're still balking at that because of economic pressures within their respective countries. And I understand that that's an issue. I understand that they need to work against their own economic interest. But what is lacking in the common knowledge and the understanding, both in the United States and in Europe, is that if they don't act now, it will be worse later. And that's not like, a threat or anything, but that is the reality. That is what this regime does. It is what they have done, and it is what got us to this place in the first place. When the regime first came into power, they weren't assassinating people on, Dutch soil. They did that a few years ago. They're kidnapping people on foreign soil. They're threatening journalists, not just foreign citizens, which is egregious in and of itself. They're threatening journalists who are foreign citizens on foreign soil. This is unacceptable. So the longer they kick the can down the road, the worse it's going to be in the long term, and the more likelihood that there's going to be actual violence on the ground in Europe when it comes to dealing with the Islamic Republic, whether that be in, God forbid, a direct confrontation with war, or through proxies, or through targeted terrorist attacks or assassinations, as we know they have already been doing in Europe. So I think there needs to be a much stronger effort to educate the West, and not just the lawmakers, but the people, because the lawmakers aren't going to act, especially against economic interest, if the people don't understand why it matters and why it's so important.
Yeah. I mean, they just executed an Iranian Swedish citizen. They have another one, German, US, Iranian citizen. So it's mind-boggling. So we know what the government is doing, quote unquote, wrong. What do you think many of the mainstream media outlets are getting wrong about the Iranian revolution? You as a journalist, I'm sure, are very critical of the mainstream media.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, they're just not covering it enough. And I understand that it's difficult because I'm a journalist. So it is very difficult to get accurate information and to get it to a point where you can print it. It requires a lot more effort. But these stories have to be told. And they have to be told because the international community has to continue to, A, know what's going on, but B, to put pressure on the regime. Because the more we highlight what's happening on the ground, the more we speak about the fact that there's all these executions that are occurring, that they've executed over 200 people just this year, the more pressure that we have on lawmakers and the people who have the ability to actually hold this regime accountable, even if minimally. If that is on the agenda, if we get that on the discussion on a regular basis in the international news, we're going to see better results. And unfortunately, we're just not seeing the amount of coverage that we should be seeing on this issue.
What do you think are some of the basic facts that you're surprised that you have to keep repeating in your reports? Is it the executions, or is there something else that you're like, I can't believe I keep on saying this?
Well, I think that a lot of people don't understand that this issue isn't just, and it depends on which audience we're talking about, but it isn't just one issue. So for some of the United States and certain political views or certain political parties, the only thing they care about is the nuclear issue, the nuclear talks, one way or the other, whether they're for it or against it. And this whole revolution has sort of helped people realize, or at least some people, it's slow, but it's getting there, that the issue with the Iranian regime is far greater than the nuclear program. The nuclear program is one, frankly, small, except for me as an Israeli. For an Israeli, it's a big deal. But it's one small issue when it comes to the problem of the Islamic Republic. The human rights issue for me is actually the biggest issue because unlike... Not that human rights violations are okay anywhere, but unlike some of the other countries, which are human rights violating regimes, they're not expansionist. And the goal of this Islamic Republic, as they have stated themselves, is to expand this ridiculous, theocratic, genocidal ideology. And they have made that abundantly clear. And, I'm not a fan of Netanyahu myself, But he did say something that's very, very true when it comes to Iran. And that is that when your enemy, and I'm talking about the government, of course, not the people of Iran, but when your enemy shows them who you are, believe them. And a lot of the West doesn't want to accept this because it's difficult to accept how bad the regime really is, because it means that then we have to do something, that we have to act. And it's not an easy thing because you risk violent confrontation when you're dealing with a dictator like this. But the only alternative is the same type of appeasement that we saw Europe give Hitler. And no, he's not the same as Hitler, but the closest thing that we have today to a regime like the Third Reich is what's happening in Iran. And I think that there is a lack of acknowledgement about what the situation is on the ground for the people of Iran themselves, but also internationally, and the impact that Tehran has on the rest of the world in a negative way through all of the proxy organizations. People just don't know enough, and they're not talking about it enough because the media isn't talking about it enough. And so, you know, that's step one. And in addition to that, social media, what we can do as individuals is to be more active in bringing these ideas and events of what's happening on the ground to the forefront. We shouldn't stop talking about it. We should annoy everyone who will listen as much as possible until everybody understands that this could get significantly worse before it gets better if there aren't concrete actions taken by leaders, yes, also in the West.
I mean, I feel like you kind of answered the question I was going to ask, which was, why do you believe that the Western countries are not listening to IRGC as a terrorist organization? But is it basically because they feel like if they do, that's almost like the first act of war, and so they're like, it's better not to do it? Is that basically it?
So there's two sort of arguments when it comes to not designating the IRGC as a terrorist organization. The first one is economic. You know, Europe implemented sanctions on Russia, which pretty much crippled their own energy source. And in order to crack down or even enforce existing sanctions on Iran, it puts Europe in a very risky and uncertain situation in terms of energy supply. I understand, and there isn't a good workaround for this right now. In the long term, obviously, it's the best thing that can happen, because trading with a regime that's the Islamic Republic versus trading with a democratic and free Iran, who is going to choose the Islamic Republic? It's, of course, much better for Europe in the long term to have regime change. But in order to get to that point, we're going to have to suffer a little bit. And I don't think that, I'm not sure that the audience in Europe is quite ready for that, because they don't understand how bad it can get. And as someone who is Jewish, who lives in Israel, who understands and researches and writes about things like the Holocaust and the different anti-Semitic pogroms that have happened throughout history, I see it as a really, really important issue that can get a lot worse very, very fast for a lot of people, and that's unacceptable to me. And so I think, not because of my own self-protection and because the Islamic Republic threatens Israel, but because I know how bad it can get, I feel an obligation to speak out about this issue much more than what other people are doing, because I think that's the only way we can really stop it. And if I have to keep screaming it from the rooftops, then that is what I will do.
Well, what do you think it will take to actually topple the Islamic regime?
I mean, I think we're already in the beginning of the end. There's a number of different things that can happen that would help bring about the end of the regime. Obviously, I want a peaceful transition. I think everybody does. Of course, there is the option of a non-peaceful transition, but I'm not sure how well that would work out in the long term. I don't see us having like a true transition into a democratic Iran unless it is peaceful. Otherwise, there's a lot of different factors that can happen, and we don't know what it will end up being, if it will be worse. But I do think that really the only path towards this is through the people demanding it. I mean, the truth is that the Islamic Republic on the ground and the IRGC, they don't really have a whole lot of tools to deal with millions, not a few hundred, not a few thousand, millions of Iranians in the street. If there are people who are truly out in every city at the same time, they're not going to be able to stop them. And we haven't quite gotten to that point. We were very close, and things have, you know, increased and then decreased, and it's been a lot of back and forth, which is why I say, like, this revolution is it's only the beginning, and it might take some time, and that's okay. But ultimately, the people of Iran need to push back. Nobody else can do it for them. And, you know, I get a lot of messages from Iranians who say, well, why doesn't Israel bomb the nuclear sites? Or why doesn't Israel bomb the IRGC? First of all, they are in Syria. But second of all, even if Israel is forced to do that, which I hope it doesn't come to that, but even if Israel is forced to do that, that's not what's going to free Iran. The only thing that's going to free Iran is the people of Iran. So if Israel has to act in, you know, in our self-interest in order to protect ourselves physically, then okay, fine, that's one thing. But you have to differentiate between that and the actual transition from the Islamic Republic of Iran to a democratic Iran. Only the people of Iran can do that. And the reason why I advocate for regime change is because I think the people of Iran, both in the diaspora and within Iran, have made it very, very clear that they are done with the Islamic Republic and that they want a true regime change. Not a reform, a true regime change.
I love it. First of all, I appreciate your very pragmatic approach. And on a closing note, as much as we'd love to hear from you more, will you be celebrating with Iranians when Iran is free? And is that a place that you would like to visit? Because whether you like it or not, you're now an adopted sister and daughter to the Iranians. And we just want to know, how badly would you like to go to Iran?
Iran has been like at the top of my list for as long as I can remember, honestly. I mean, it's such a rich civilization with so much history. And the thing is, like, I didn't even talk about this yet, but the friendship between Jews and Persians historically is like unreal. Like, there's so much in common, way more in common than we have difference. Even like things like being habitually late, like funny things like this, our love for food, a lot of the food is similar as well. So these things, you know, there's just so much history, and there's more history of friendship than there is of being enemies. Like, being an enemy is foreign. Israel, for example, never fought a war with Iran. Like, we were good with Iran. Iran was one of the first countries to recognize the state of Israel. We want peace with Iran. You ask an Israeli on the street, a random Israeli, they love Iranians, or they are Iranian themselves. A lot of them are Iranians. You might not get the same thing with the Arab world, because we've had so many wars with the Arab world. It's a different situation. And the Persian community is very, very different. And I really want to emphasize that, because I want any Iranians who are skeptical, you know, I know there are some who don't like Israel so much. That's fine. I'm not going to not be friends with someone because they don't like Israel. They don't have to like Israel. That's not the litmus test. But there is a lot of friendship between these two groups of people, and we want peace and we want cooperation. And in a free and democratic Iran, I would be over the moon delighted to visit all of Iran and see the places that I have read so much about and heard so much about. And I just like, oh, you made me really excited now, and I have to keep waiting.
Well, since you are from Southern California, you've lived there, you're going to go hopefully from Tehran, Jalais, to us rolling out the carpet for you in Tehran one day very soon, because you are certainly deserving of it after everything you've been doing for the last 8 months. And I just know from the way you're passionately talking, you're going to continue to keep this fire alive. And we appreciate you. So thank you so much. And hopefully we get to celebrate together in Iran, in a free Iran. And we definitely love and appreciate the Israeli people and the Jewish people. I always use that as an example. We try to get Iranians together, and I constantly use the Jewish people as the epitome of an example of community. You know, us Iranians, we have to learn more about how the Jewish people have been able to work together as a community. And so we need to learn from each other. We have our
conflicts too. That's another way that we're similar as well, though. You know, they say that you have, you know, 2 Jews and 3 opinions. It's the same with Persians. Like, very, very similar.
That's right. Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure having you, Emily. Hopefully we'll be in touch and have you on again soon. Safe travels, yes. Best wishes, and keep on riding to the top. We're rooting for you. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed hearing more from Emily, please drop a comment, show her some love. If you have never met her before, I hope that you're inclined to follow her and support her in everything she's been doing. She's really been what they call a shirzan, a lioness. And so We've reached the end of our program, ladies and gentlemen, awesome people. I hope you enjoyed the program. If you did, please follow the Unite and Conquer YouTube channel. This episode is going to be on our Unite and Conquer YouTube channel. If you haven't yet followed the Let's Unite and Conquer Instagram page, kindly do so. We're just trying to continue to grow our community so we can continue to have conversations like this and hopefully impact change in Iran, which is a free Iran. In closing, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, in South Florida, May 26th, Critical Mass, the bike ride. More information on my Instagram. On July 3rd, Azadi Festival in Ship Garden in Tyson's Corner in DC area. The tickets are officially on sale. We're here to celebrate a free Iran on July 3rd. And love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And hope to see you again next Wednesday, May 24th. Shab Khair wa be umid Azadi.